Good day, everybody. My name is Steve Serio. I'm the owner of Bond Group here in Waltham, Massachusetts, and the proud owner of this 1963 Aston Martin DB4 Series 5 Vantage. The enigma around the DB4 and their late cars can be answered where you can really understand how special this particular car is. In 1963, Aston Martin was running out of the DB4s, getting ready to build DB5. Some people refer to the DB5 as the 6th series DB4 because frankly that's what it is. It's the last derivative of something that started in 1959 as the Series 1 DB4. This car, a DB4 Series 5 Vantage with an SS engine, is really a DB5. It's the first iteration of a DB5. It's what was used in Goldfinger as what became the DB5 James Bond car. So behind me, why this car is so special, it's a couple of things. First of all, it was born as the 1963 New York City show car. It had a sister convertible, which lives here, coincidentally, in Massachusetts. It started out white with a black interior. It's now trimmed with a dark blue interior, and that trim was redone in 1984 by the Aston Martin factory when the car was sent back to the UK. What makes this car special as well is rarity. There aren't many left-hand drive DB4 Series 5 Vantage cars. When you funnel it down, there may be 17 in total with an SS engine, maybe a couple more, maybe a couple less. You'd have to really go through each and every single record and count. And by all accounts, with the Aston Martin register, with information being pulled from auction companies that have sold similar cars through the years, this is a super rare thing. The SS engine is the triple carb setup you see here and left-hand drive. So Holy Grail is an overused phrase, but this is a holy grail of DB4s until you get to the DB4 GT, which is a totally different animal. But under the hood here, which the hood pad is original as you can see because it's a little chewed up there, the black cam covers, people will look at this and go, why are they black? They were done like that from the factory for the New York City Auto Show. This is a little more polished and plated on the fuel rail here. And more importantly, again, you've got the triple carb setup, which led to the DB5 normal triple carb setup. This is also the first true use of the word Vantage. When Vantage was used in the DB2s, the Mark IIIs, all the earlier cars, it was only an engine change. This was a body change. This was the covered headlights, which led again to the DB5, which came from the DB4 GT, and combined with the 3.7 liter, 266 horsepower SS engine, you've got a bump in horsepower above the normal 240 that come with DB4s. It should be noted that at the end of the run, most of these cars had vent windows with a crank. Here, we're looking at an electric window. So, kind of weird for a DB4, a nice rarity, a nice option. What's interesting about this car, and a great many things that get sold in the trade, or especially on Bring a Trailer here, is sometimes cars come with a little bit of information, sometimes cars come with no information at all, and sometimes cars like this come with a stack of history and lots of information. I have personally known this car since 1984, and I can attribute this car for getting me really involved in Aston Martins as a profession in 1987. The car lived here locally in Massachusetts with one owner from 1976 through 2003, when I sold it to the fourth and final owner, who had the car in California in the Pasadena area until earlier this year. So the car was the New York City show car in 1963 and was sold to the first owner listed as Thomas Edward Powell of Elon College in North Carolina. The second owner, which we have title work to, was Myron Hendrickson of Bel Air, Maryland. Mr. Hendrickson sold it to my dear friend Lloyd Damon in 1976, and that's when I first learned of the car and saw the car in 1984. Lloyd had the car through 2003 when it was sold to a gentleman by the name of Jeffrey Plansker in Southern California, last of Pasadena. And I was fortunate enough to buy the car back from Jeff. So what we have here in my hand is this nifty little notebook that Lloyd put together in 1976. And what's interesting about it is the odometer read 51,697 miles when he bought the car. The car, almost 50 years later, or 45 years later, now has 59,000 miles and change. So it's only gone about 8,000 miles since 1976. And Lloyd kept a pretty strong book of service and thoughts and everything. And then Jeff picked this up in September of '03. So Lloyd had this wonderful little book until he sold it to Jeffrey, and I sold it for him. It passed through our shop here in Boston. And Jeffrey picked it up in August of 2003 and started writing in it himself. Well, Jeff was a fantastic caretaker, but he didn't drive the car much either, and he drove it about 1,500 miles. So with that, we have a solid, concise, written history, but more importantly, the file goes back to Mr. Kellberg in 1971. So the second owner kept everything and all the parts he had ordered from Aston Martin at that time in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. We have all of the retrimming history when the car was retrimmed by the factory in the early 1980s. We have all of the documentation going back and forth to the UK and having service work done there. And then this picks up again with Jeffrey's work having been accomplished by Fast Cars in Redondo Beach. And then when we got the car, of course, everything needs a little bit of help. So since we bought the car, carburetors, brakes, heater core, countless other little things that we've documented in our files were gone through, so it is ready to go now to the next owner. So in between all of my sort of running on thoughts here, the things I would like to focus on the most is the car has never been fully restored. It was repainted in the early 1970s with lacquer paint that we still have the original can as a bit of spare paint, which is useless, but it's neat to have. The car is complete down to the jack, the tool roll, the original radio that lights up and says Aston Martin in the little Motorola area. We've got original keys that go with the car, although it may seem like a lot, but it is because, again, another part that was always untouched, the original Motorola radio, when turned on, you can tell when one was supplied by the factory because there you go, there's the Aston Martin that is lit up right in the faceplate of the radio. The original leather-bound DB4 instruction book, an original Aston Martin DB4 parts book, workshop manual, which was made over a number of years. Here is the dried up can of what was then Platinum Hilux car finish paint, but we do have toolkit, mostly original tools. I don't think the screwdrivers are, but even the little Dunlop breather tube, some hose clamps, fuses, everything down from the wrenches made in the UK, and certainly the toolkit itself is the original vinyl black with red trim kit. More importantly, back here, this fabric has never been changed, and rarely do you see the India jute, which has never been changed out either. But the only thing that's been changed back here is the battery tender, which is connected to the battery, which is right behind this panel. All of this trim is original, and strangely enough, when the factory retrimmed the carpet, here is 2 yards of extra dark blue Wilton carpet. So you can see that over the years, and even the under trim fiberglass for the bottom of the boot is still here. It's never been off the car, and everything here that you see is how these things should have been. So if you're looking for something that's an honest, kind of no BS kind of car, this is documented, it's never been fully restored, It is perhaps one of 17 in left-hand drive and is just about the closest thing you can find to the car that was used in Goldfinger without spending $4 or $5 or $6 million for one of the original cars, or for that matter, millions of dollars for one of the continuation cars that are being built by Aston Martin now that you can't road register. So any and all questions, please send them to us, and good luck to the fellow who ends up with it, because you'll be the next in a short line of owners. Thanks for listening.